Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dr. Homebrew. I got a whole bunch of beers to get through and a whole bunch of people to talk to. Our friend Colin is back. Colin, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sending some beers. I appreciate it. We love drinking homebrews, my friend. You know what I'm trying to say?
I understand. I might enjoy it myself.
Yeah, something like that. I don't really know. With me, as always, of course, is Brian Shar and Brian Cooper, our BJCP certified master people guys.
Well, hello. Well, we're Grandmaster, by the way.
Grandmaster, that's right.
Thank you. Don't take away our prefix there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to nag you. I'm just trying to take you down a little bit and then pretend I forgot.
I'm getting closer to Grandmaster too. I'm working on that. Brian and I have to have a little competition. I probably have to grade some more though.
Oh no,
you're going to beat me to Grandmaster too, because I just don't see myself grading exams ever again. I don't mean to be like and I probably shouldn't say that out loud, and more than the BJCP is probably listening, and that's like includes you, Brian, because you're the regional rep. But I don't know if I have some time, I'll pick up some exams again.
Yeah,
it's a very, very time consuming process.
Sure,
it is. It's really not for busy people. If you're retired, I think it's great. I'm hoping. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not ever going to happen to me. Or maybe ask me in 2040. 2040, maybe I'll be grading something. Maybe I'll hit that Grandmaster 7 in 2040, and I'll do it in 1 year.
That'd be great, man. That would be excellent. I think, what else are you going to do when you're half blind and can't move? You're going to grade papers for free.
I can't read what this guy said. He gets 50%.
Yeah, for just internet tokens.
Actually, by then, we'll just have the internet streaming into our brains. So I'll get that exam just shot into my head somehow. It won't matter that I can't see.
I sure hope so. I really do. I hope we discard our fleshy husks. The web 4.0 at that point.
That also means your boss will be able to read directly into your brain while you're working. I don't really like that idea.
Yeah, it'll be Back to the Future 2 where you get fired from a closet. Right in the closet. Oh, okay, great. This really works. Before we get to Colin's beer, though, I want to thank our show sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. Go to 5starchemicals.com and learn about the best ways to clean and sanitize your home brewing equipment, your wine-making equipment, cider, mead, anything you're doing at home. Kombucha needs to be cleaned and sanitized first before you use it. And the best way to do that, the best people to provide the chemicals for you to do that are 5 Star Chemicals. Go to 5starchemicals.com. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for their free Homebrew Club program in one of the links in today's show description of the podcast or on the YouTube page to receive free product, exclusive discounts, monthly educational seminars, and free swag.
Yeah, kombucha. I don't know. Have you ever seen a SCOBY? I mean, that doesn't look really sanitary to me.
I've made kombucha before.
Yeah, I have too. The disc of symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria, or bacteria and yeast, whatever.
Something like that.
You don't have to be, I think as long as things are kind of clean, you might be okay.
Yeah, it's, I didn't worry about cleanliness so much, but it's sort of so ingrained in, when you have a vessel and you're going to ferment in or whatever, it's, you just kind of, I got to do it. I
sanitized the hell out of it, but
absolutely.
Did I need to? I think with those, it's like time is your enemy. When it just gets too long in the tooth, it starts going vinegary, and then you're like, oh, this is starting to go nasty here.
Yeah. But you might as well just with the fresh, clean, nothing else in there, no pathogens, no other yeasts or anything to make it funkier than it is.
Why take a chance? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Colin, what did you send us today, dude?
You got a Belgian Blonde.
A Belgian Blonde. I just made one of these a couple months ago. Brian Cooper had literally, I waved the glass and underneath his nose because he was too important to hang out and have a beer. I gave this man, I put a plate of homemade chocolates out for this man, a slice of cake that my wife made for this man. I'm gonna go get COVID with the Doe's meeting. Sorry, I can't stay.
I appreciate all of that.
Left the chocolate, didn't even take the chocolate with him. Unreal. But anyway, he tried my Belgian Blonde, and it wasn't very good. It's a couple months old, and I beat the hell out of it. But I'm excited to drink yours because it's not a style that you really see. I mean, you get a lot of blonde ales, but the Belgian, I don't know, there's something, you can sort of almost maybe confuse it for is this contaminated? Because it's that spicy sort of thing, man, right?
Yeah,
Is
get
this
those
something?
phenols in there.
Yeah, is it something you do a lot?
It's the third time I've tried it.
Third time. Okay. Have we tried it before?
You have not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. I'm excited about that then. I'm excited.
I think we'd
Cooper.
remember this beer.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. But you know, everything
Yeah.
together. Why don't you start us off, Coop?
I sure will. Let me crack the bottle here.
Oh wow.
Had a
that's
nice
open.
fill level, and always check that. Had a nice hiss upon opening, and just for judging, and we'll pour it straight down the glass here and see how fluffy that gets. It's pretty nice. In the nose, I get a clean, grainy, sweet, kind of like a water cracker like maltiness with a little alcohol up front as well. It's smooth, light peppery and spicy yeast phenols, and the esters are lightly lemony but a bit muted or maybe covered by the other elements. There's no DMS or diacetyl here. It's very clean, bright. There's no oxidation. It's just very fresh smelling. Color, it's a nice, I guess you could say, a deep yellowy light gold color, with a fluffy and dense white head that persists very well. The beer is brilliantly clear. Actually, it was amazingly clear. I was surprised you could read a newspaper through this, and I thought it was nice and bright, no haze whatsoever. Fantastic lacing with just this everlasting thick head of very fine bubbles, just a well-formed head on that beer. When I judged it last night, I was just watching it as I drink it, and the lacing would just of course now my glass is dirtier because I used it for judging some other stuff tonight, and it's probably affecting that a little bit, but and it's also maybe a little colder than I had it last night because I let it sit out for a while. Getting into the flavor, very smoothly and lightly malty with grainy and lightly sweet character. Getting those nice white pepper phenolics in there. They're just bold enough to stand up to the malty sweet presentation as it dries off the tongue, lingering into the aftertaste a bit with that. Get a lightly clean Belgian ale fermentation character, with just eminently soft alcohol. Yeah. If there's a lot of alcohol in here, I don't know what the ABV is, but it's amazingly smooth. And, it's not like a super strong style, but it does have, it's stronger than your average beer. The beer has a low bitterness to it. The hops aren't super prominent, but it does have a light, spicy hop there in the background. I shouldn't forget to mention that. Really nice flavor for the style. Mouthfeel wise, medium high carbonation, drives things nicely, pushing up the clean and pleasant flavors and aromas that are here. The body is medium light, I would say, which is maybe just a bit low for the style, or perhaps deceptively so. But it's just light and smooth. The alcohol warmth is just to the back of the mouth, not hot or burning down the throat at all. I guess you could say it's even a little creamy. It's such a soft beer. The presentation is just really smooth and easy to drink. Overall impression, I guess you could say, if you're going to give somebody a Belgian blonde, say, here, try this style you've never had before. This is a Belgian blonde ale. Like, hand them this beer. It's soft. It's very easily approachable. This Belgian blonde is amazingly smooth and quaffable. Seems just a touch light in body, and perhaps on the lighter side for color as well here. It's not quite gold, but pushing towards that. I wouldn't say it's going way off style here or instantly, it's out. We have got to knock it down 10 points here instantly. I forgive a little bit of that when everything else is so right. So, you could, if you're going to enter this in a competition, perhaps try to increase the body ever so slightly toward medium for an even better level of kind of assertiveness to the style. Still, it really holds its own. You could possibly increase the fruity esters just a touch. There, the phenolics kind of win here. There's not a whole lot of that lemony, orangey thing. But again, I don't know that it needs to be that much fruitier. The balance overall is pretty nice. And I actually had to finish the whole bottle when I judged it last night. And I plan to finish this whole bottle.
My
tonight.
wife made me finish this entire bottle before I came to
I
bed.
would love to have this recipe in the notes, and we'll talk with you about that when we get there. But it's a fantastically well done Belgian Blonde Ale. Now, I scored it a 43, but we talked before the show about how he provided us with 2 bottles of it, unlike the other entries, which kind of isn't some of the other guys' fault, but it just as kind of a joke. We got one cider we're going to do later. There's one big bottle, so I wouldn't have made the guy send 2 of those anyway. And the other guy that's going to be on the next show handed me a couple bottles at Homebrew Con. So, and we were supposed to just kind of taste those there.
Brian,
so
what are you talking about?
My joke is that we were just going to instantly add 5 points, which would bring it to a 48. But then I'm not really going to do that.
I think your joke was a donut because like the middle was missing, and I think you went right to the punchline.
Yes, I do that a lot. I over explain things, and then I never remember to get to the punchline.
Hey,
but
man, it's all right.
The punchline, the punchline is this is a really good beer at 43.
Yeah, Brian, I'm the joke explainer here. Okay.
You see, because I tend to explain my jokes.
Exactly. You didn't give me a chance to follow up with that, JP.
Yeah, well, look, I'm too fast, man. All right, Shar, let her rip, dude.
All right. Yeah, Colin, I really enjoyed this beer. You've been on the show before, but for listeners who may not have heard those episodes, are you in a homebrew club?
Well, COVID killed my club, unfortunately. So
literally, they're all dead.
The club is dead, not the members, but the club.
Yeah,
that would be
you might have to explain that one. Speaking of jokes,
that would be a great name for a one-person club, though. COVID killed my club. Yeah. Membership won.
Yeah, but I won Ninkasi, so that's good.
Cool. So you're brewed great by yourself, Sans Club. So thank you for sending this beer to us. The bottle inspection, it was a bottle. It's appropriately filled. Nothing wrong with that. Aroma. The aroma began with a medium level of sort of Pilsner malt and Belgian malt. There's a characteristic Belgian fermentation aroma, to me anyway, that gives off some phenol, some spicy phenol, and also some fruity esters. And I always just kind of characterize that as Belgian fermentation smell. Belgian fermentation aroma. Smell sounds like it's not very good.
Yeah.
So you don't want to talk about it smells. It smells. That's not always a good thing.
Or you could go to where the cider people do and talk about the bouquet.
Ooh, the bouquet. We're not that fancy either, so we're kind of somewhere in the middle. I got sort of a very low earthy hop aroma, but the hop aroma to me was kind of definitely in the background. It's complex and interesting. I gave it 10 out of 12 for an aroma. Appearance, 3 out of 3, exceptionally clear. It's very light in color, like a pale straw to me. It's hard to tell here if you're one of the 4 people on Facebook watching this live. I'm holding it up to my camera. The head is large and persistent, so well done. Initially, the flavor is malty. You get that Pilsner malt character. With bitterness coming up to balance mid-palate. The fermentation products of the yeast, that phenol and that ester, also come up in mid-palate. Brian was talking about the alcohol. It's definitely present, and not in terms of warming, but just in terms of there's a characteristic of this beer that says there's alcohol there, but it's not really tasteable. So that's really a good that's really a good trick to be able to make this. This falls in that category of strong Belgian beers. So this is probably a fairly high alcohol beer. There's alcohol there, but it's not harsh. There's nothing fusily. It's very smooth. This is very well attenuated beer. The finish is long and balanced toward bitter. And, what's interesting is when I judged this about an hour and a half ago, I left the bottle and this sample out since then. I perceived it as being more bitter than I perceive it as being now, which is really kind of weird. I'm having a sip there again.
I judged it pretty warm last night, and it It did have the impression of low bitterness. As I'm judging it a little colder now, I am getting a little more bitterness to it. So that might be a real thing there.
Yeah, that's interesting because bitterness is not usually a thing that varies with temperature, but it maybe the other flavor components have varied with temperature enough to give a higher perceived bitterness.
Or the carbonation with the carbonation in the beer more, it's accenting that a little bit more as a bite.
That's exactly what that is, Brian. That's a good call because, like I said, this is sat out for an hour and a half, so it's lost a lot of its carbonation. So there's not that carbonic bite that's sort of acting in parallel with the hop bitterness and also lifting that hop bitterness sort of onto the tongue.
And I just have to say, it's amazing how much carbonation Colin got into this bottle. It
really is.
Yeah, it's
fluffy. Just really effervescent.
Yeah, I expect like I would have grabbed this off a shelf in Brussels somewhere or something. I mean, this is Belgian carbonation, which, packaging is never my strong suit. So I have a lot of respect for people that have the ability to actually get the carbonation right, whether it's in a bottle or whether it's in a keg. And the carbonation on this is right. I mean, it came out of that bottle exactly where it was supposed to be. So flavor, I gave it a 16 out of 20. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. Medium body, high carbonation. There's definite warming. It's more perky than creamy, which is expected. It's high carbonation beer. Overall impression, I gave it a 9 for a total of 43. Before the show, I texted Cooper because Cooper had judged this before me. And a lot of the time we'll kind of text each other beforehand after we've both judged just to kind of see where we are. And I texted him 43 and I'm thinking, oh man, he's going to not be this high. I'm going to be way off. And he said, that's exactly what I gave it. So we were dialed in on calibration right out of the gate on this show. So that was real good.
We are good, Brian.
We're just that good. We're board certified doctors of homebrew here.
That's right.
Certified specialization in Belgians or something. So
when we're
going to get it right.
Yeah, when you're scoring it that high, sometimes you're judging with someone else. You're like almost afraid somebody's going to score something in the low 30s. When you both hit that, maybe that is cause for just instantly adding another point. I mean, why not?
Exactly.
Is it a 34? Why? I could talk you into that. I bet I could.
I flipped that around and give it a 43. So I really like this beer. There's no obvious off flavors. It's clean. It's well attenuated. It's highly carbonated. It's tasty. I had commented the only thing I might change is I might back off on the bitterness just a little bit next time. And the reason I say that is look at the style guidelines and they indicate that this style should be a little less bitter than a triple or a Belgian Golden Strong. And triples are fairly highly hopped beers. I mean, they're not an IPA, but they're fairly bitter beers. And, most people aren't going to pour this and then let it walk away for an hour and a half and then come back to it. They're going to, pull this out of the fridge, uncap it, pour it into a glass and drink it, crush the hell out of it. So I think maybe just a little bit, back off just a little bit on the bittering hops might be a good idea, but that's the only thing I could think of that would make it even better. So very, very well done, Colin. Thank you for sharing.
Before we get into the recipe, I agree with a lot of the things. What nobody has said is I'm trying to figure out what it's from, but there's a really strong toothpaste thing, and I can't tell if it's from the beer because I've just brushed my teeth. So I'm going to mark you down as a 13, and I just can't. No, honestly, fighting through that. You actually had me going back and tasting. Is there toothpaste in here? Yeah.
You're making a joke. Okay.
No, that's what I do. I sort of want to blend the comments between Cooper and Shar and say it might be a little too bitter, but I think you can come up with the body a little bit and then not drop the hops at all, and everything would be fine. The beer that got me liking this style a lot was the Westy 6, the green top, the table beer. And that is a very hoppy, almost aggressively hoppy, not bitter, but hoppy beverage. It is in your face and there's no bones about it. I was very, very taken aback because it was very different than anything else that I've ever had that calling itself a blonde ale. So, compared to that, I don't know if it's too bitter, but I do agree there could be something mid palate to just sort of lift it, because I don't want to call it watery, but it's not as malty as I would want it, even though it is a blonde ale. That being said, let's go through your recipe. What you got?
Okay. So for malt bill, it is 8 pounds or 94% environment 4 malted Bohemian Pilsner, and then half a pound or 6% flaked wheat, and then 1.5 pounds or 18% just table sugar. So that's the malt bill. Pretty simple there.
Sugar. Why table sugar?
It's pretty classic. Just I've found, I don't know if it's with the yeast or what dries it out. I found with especially with those simple malt bills, just plain sugar in Belgian beer does wonders.
Okay.
Yeah, boost the alcohol without boosting body.
Well, yeah, but it's a low ABV beer, so I wouldn't think you need that. So I think I guess my thought was if you what's the ABV on this, Colin?
7.2.
7.2? That's too high. That's too high.
This
is not necessarily a low gravity beer.
It goes up to 7.5, 6 to 7.5. Yeah,
it's in category 25, which is strong Belgian ale.
Belgian Blonde Ale is a strong Belgian ale.
Yeah.
Yes, it's ABV 6 to 7.5.
Okay, well,
Belgian Golden Strong is.
It doesn't taste like it. So
that's
there you go.
Very true.
But also, fuck off. This should be 4.5 to 5%. Anyway,
I'll talk to Gordon. Sorry,
I'm sure you can take this to Brussels and they'll get right on that.
My God. Okay. All right. Well, I take back some of what I said, but also not really. More body. I don't know. I would take the sugar out personally and just use malt, because I think you need some more of that body.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
You're good.
I interrupted.
For the yeast, it was the White Labs Belgian Strong, which I can't remember the specific number on that one, but did a little bit lower pitch rate, so 0.61 million cells per milliliter per Plato, so a little bit under pitch, but not anything dramatic. Pitched at 65, and then basically held that till Krautzen, and then let her rip at 70, and didn't get any higher than that through all fermentation. I wanted to keep those relatively muted, not get too crazy.
Now we know where all those phenolics are coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the hops, it was 160-minute addition of Styrian Goldings. So it was like 10.28. So 3.5 ounces basically at 60 minutes. So that's a pretty low alpha hop. So IBUs was 30 IBU.
Okay, that's within the range for this beer. So my comment about the hop bitterness, I think it was actually right at the top end, which is 15 to 30 IBU. So I mean, maybe you could still back off just a little, but I think it's the carbonation that's giving the sense, because it's a highly carbonated beer, as it should be, and that carbonation is giving a sense of bitterness, sort of in parallel with the hops.
He's at the also at the high end for alcohol. So yeah, I mean, as you go up on some elements to get the balance right, you need to go up on some of the other elements too and play with that. But if you listen to everything we all said, he's going to dial it back to 4.5% to make JP happy. Take out all the sugar.
Yeah,
add malt.
Be Colin. Be the one person in the world.
Push up the malt and pull back the bitterness at the same time. It's going to be weird and awful. Don't do that. Don't listen to us.
Well, the kicker, I agree. It's actually both of your comments of it being a little bit too bitter, a little too thin. I'm 100%. That's what I would agree with as well. So I recently built my own Herms system. So basically, I'm pumping my mash through a coil that's in essentially a hot liquor tank that's controlled the temperature. So I can play around with step mashing and that sort of thing. So playing with the fermentability. So for this particular beer, I did a rest at 140 for 10 minutes, 145 for 30, 160 for 20, and then 162 for 10. And so that made a very, very fermentable wort. So I actually got 90% attenuation. It went from 55 OG to 1 point final gravity.
It is so dry.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really dry. So And then did you leave the temperature constant at the low to mid 60s, or did you let it rise up a little bit?
70. So pitched at 65, and then once it was going, I let it naturally go up to 70, and then capped it at 70.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get a lot of fruitiness from that. Most of that's going to come probably earlier in the fermentation. So if you did start a degree or two higher, you might get a little more fruitiness in there, little orangey lemony quality with those phenolics, which are at a nice level where they are. I wouldn't change it too much, but that is something you could do. And maybe just something to give it just a little more color. But I don't know that you'd want to introduce any more malt flavors necessarily. Like the wheat's working nice for you. That just the head and the lacing, amazing. I wrote on the top of my sheet, I wrote, "Damn, somebody homebrewed this beer." I was like, yeah.
So
Cooper writes notes to himself.
I do. Well, it's just stuff I want to say.
Yeah.
Glycoprotein rest 162. That's where it's at. I've been doing that on every single beer I've made ever since I've had that, and it just does amazing things for head retention.
Cool.
Interesting.
It's not just the wheat then. Yeah.
Not just the wheat. Nope.
Get those lots of medium chain proteins going, and just yeah. Good way. Yeah. I mean, you're paying a lot of attention to the way the structure of your beer, and that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So then the constant recirculation of the mash too. So I mean, I'm getting completely clear wort out of the mash tun by the time I sparge. So just completely crystal clear out of there. So whether or not having those fine particles in the beer, all that I think plays into it. But so a lot of people poo-poo step mashing, but just from my experience, I think it does make a difference.
Yeah, I think it is one of those opinion things. You know, there's professional brewers who do both, and it depends on what you want out of the beer.
Right.
If it works for you,
it can't hurt.
Yeah.
At worst, it can't hurt. I was always a step masher when I could, and just tried to circulate up, start off low, move up high, and break up as many of those molecules as I could.
Yeah.
Not me. Single step, baby.
And how about your water? Just filtered or RO?
So, Greenville water where I live is very, very, very soft. It's almost RO coming out of the tap. But I build, so my final composition was 37 calcium, 27 sodium, 32 sulfate, 77 chloride. Mash pH was 5.4.
And you boiled it for 60 minutes or 90?
Yeah, 60.
60. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, wonderfully done. Really nice beer. Just so soft and easy to drink. Like you can hand this to anyone. I was like, oh, I don't like Belgian beers. Well, try this. You know, they're going to like it.
Yeah, they like it more at 4.5% though. Just saying. Colin, do you have any questions for the guys?
No, I mean, I'm glad I got the feedback of what I agreed with as well as being the little bit too thin, a little too bitter. I think I'll play with the mashing schedule and try and get it a little bit less fermentable, leave a little residual in there. I think that'll help with both of those.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I guess we'll let you go.
I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks.
Cool. All right, Colin.
Thank you.
Man.
Thanks, Colin.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a quick break, everybody. We're going to come right back with more beer here on Dr. Homebrew. Don't go anywhere. All right, thanks for sticking around, everybody. We are here with another beer and another brewer. Bob, welcome to Dr. Homebrew.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you sending some beers. You sent in, you overachieved. You sent a bomber in.
Absolutely.
Love it. Yeah. What are we drinking here?
It is a Rainbow Sherbet Cider.
A Rainbow Sherbet Cider. Okay, that sounds, hey man, sounds pretty good, dude. I like the label. I like your logo and everything.
Nice artwork, yeah.
Very professional. Do you just like packaging, or are you trying to maybe go for your own brewery one day?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe down the road at some point, but for now I'm just kind of, trying to package them nicely for gifts and stuff.
Just having fun. That is part of the fun of home brewing is the other side of, you brew it, you make it, you package it, but it's, sort of like wrapping a Christmas present.
Yeah, exactly.
With the bow on or whatever.
I really enjoyed that early on too. It's like you have your own brand, you can market it or name it however you want to. There's no board
Yeah.
of directors. You just get creative and have fun.
Yeah. It's about having a good time. Is it something you've done before?
That's the first time that I made the cider, and obviously at the end when we do recipe and stuff, I'll talk about, kind of where I see that one going if I do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, Brian Shar,
Oh,
why don't you go ahead and start us off?
I can do that. So, Bob, I have to ask, as I ask everyone, are you a member of a homebrew or home cider club?
I am not.
How'd you get into making cider? How long have you been doing that?
So in 2018, I live in Mass, and there's a lot of apple orchards around me. So
Really?
And in 2018, I brewed a cider with some of the apple cider from one of the orchards, and then I didn't do anything for a couple of years, and then once COVID hit, I went full force back into it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Shar, come up a little bit, please.
Oh, that's really cool. I was a little bit off the mic. Is it a little bit better there, JP?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't know a lot about cider, and then compounding that is the fact that I don't know a lot about your cider. And don't tell us. We'll hear at the end when you go through your recipe and how you made this. So I just, Cooper and I were talking before the show, and I'm like, well, we'll just kind of judge it for what it is. And I judged it as a category C2 subcategory F specialty cider / Perry, because as a rainbow sherbet cider, I don't know if you added rainbow sherbet or maybe added fruits that would be in a rainbow sherbet. So I wasn't entirely sure. So I just judged what was in front of me the best I could.
I just under the new Rainbow Ralphing Cat category that was just issued in the BJCP. It's inspired by the Exploding Kittens card. They just invented it. It's a great category.
Yeah, I think that's a Deadpool thing. This could be the Deadpool style for the rainbow barfing. Anyway, appearance. I had a little bit of a slight haze. Maybe see it in mine. Not enough to take both points out for clarity, I don't think, but I took a point off for the slight haze. Carbonation seemed to me, it was present, but it didn't seem to be highly carbonated, so I characterized it myself more of a pétillant. Petillant, I think it's pétillant, right, Cooper?
I always just say petulant.
Petulant. Yeah, petulant. Petulant's probably good. Pétillant. The carbonation is at a petulant level. Color is dark gold. It's a little darker than usually I would expect for a cider. So I also knocked a point off there for a total of 4 out of 6. The bouquet, we were talking about this in the last segment. This beverage has a bouquet. It doesn't smell like anything. It's got a bouquet.
Use your radio voice now.
Yeah, this is time for the bouquet. Low apple aroma is present along with another element that I think might be the intended to be the sherbet. So I kind of get two components of the aroma. I get something appley and something kind of fruity and not appley. No off aromas. Gave it 6 out of 10. Flavor, the initial impression for me is kind of a light sweetness and another flavor note, which I assume to be the sherbet or what's supposed to be the sherbet component. It wasn't declared. I sort of characterized this as a semi-dry cider. And maybe I talk about this a little bit in the overall impression. I'm wondering if whatever flavor is intended to correspond to the rainbow sherbet actually provided some sweetness that may or may not have been intended. It's semi-dry, low acid. I think it's got a nice finish, but that sherbet flavor, not the apple, dominates the aftertaste. And to me, it kind of lacks complexity. So I gave that 13 out of 24. Overall impression, 6 for a total of 29, which is still the very top end of good. It's a good beverage. I think the sherbet flavor is a good idea. And I think it blends, on the one hand, is why it's sort of hard to describe this. I think on the one hand, it blends well with the base cider. On the other hand, it kind of sticks out from the base cider and adds some sweetness that you may not want to have actually be there. And I'm thinking maybe whatever flavor component is corresponding to the Rainbow Sherbet, maybe back off at that a little bit next time. Maybe like just a 15%, nothing calamitous, but just maybe I think you might be in a territory of like a fine adjustment here. Or perhaps rethink whatever the exact composition or different components, if there are different components of that flavor characteristic is. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I have a glass of it here, and I plan to drink this while Cooper is giving his review.
Very good. All right, Cooper.
Okay. Yeah. We are using the cider score sheet here, and that is, it does always ask for carbonation and sweetness, and that's required information for entering a cider in a competition. When we received the cider from Bob, he did kind of preface it with, not quite sure how to categorize this. This is what it's called. I just kind of took it at face value. Okay. Rainbow Sherbet Cider. I'm not going to worry about carbonation level or sweetness. We can figure that out.
Yeah.
And see how the balance works. So in a competition, points would be deducted for not declaring that or for being off what you did declare. But that's a whole other story. So for now, we're just having fun with it and judging it for what it is. Appearance wise, it's kind of an orangey light amber with a slight haze. It does appear still. I'm not seeing any bubbles rising, nothing forming on the surface when you pour it. Not even petulant to me. It's pretty much still. Bouquet aroma. So the nose, I get a tart apple-like sharpness up front, getting an orangey fruitiness in the forefront as well. There's something reminiscent of a lighter kind of blue raspberry beneath that as well. It's clean with no big off aromas getting in the way. Has hints of kind of a cotton candy-like impression quality to it. I'm getting like a little bit of lime-like quality, just slight. And I like lime. So that's kind of welcome. But it's a lot of aromas there. So I'm wondering what's this going to taste like? And then you just take the first sip. And it's like, oh, I just instantly go to like taste the rainbow, and you just like mix every Skittles flavor that you have. Not the damn green apple kind of Skittles, but the lime that they returned to, and the real Skittles, which now in California, they're trying to make, someone's suing the Mars company because it's with the titanium dioxide coloring. It's unfit for human consumption, apparently. And I just bought a pack of Skittles, and I'm going to eat those later on, I think. But
titanium dioxide is harmless. Don't even worry about it.
Right. Yeah. It might pair well with this cider. So it does have a pretty bright but not sharp acidity to it that to me balances the fairly broad, really broad, fruity fruit punch-like quality that the cider has. Again, I'm getting lime and orange citrus, some berry esters, kind of a candied grape.
Candied grape. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or grape
I'm not
Skittle.
sure if I've heard of that before.
Candy, well, just candy grape flavor, not like grape flavor.
Oh, I see.
Grape,
I guess
like I would say the lime Skittles.
And everything about this,
right.
it tastes like a candy, not like a fresh fruit. And I like candy. Candy is good.
Except the chocolate that I gave you left here.
I did. I had just eaten, and I did take some bites as a courtesy to you of the chocolate,
exactly.
which you proceeded to tell me was not very good, and that I didn't have to eat it all.
Liar.
And I ate a little bit of it. I enjoyed it.
All right.
I
never
broke
going to hear
off
the end of this chocolate thing, Brian.
No.
I broke off the pieces so you could save the rest of the chocolate.
Yeah, well,
And
greasy palms all over my chocolate.
I do appreciate what you put
Personal
out.
chocolate. Anyway, continue with Bob's cider, please.
No, we're going to talk more about the chocolate now.
Yeah.
I would use a little less salt.
Yeah. Am I the asshole? Let's go.
The cider is moderately sweet and has a medium light body, a medium low alcohol, fruit it's just a fruit bomb, candy fruit bomb, just candy like in the aftertaste that lingers like crazy. It's like a bit powdery, kind of like a pixie sticks like impression too, to me. Has that sugary, awesome, cool flavor to me. But when I say not creamy, I'll get into that. It's, I'm expecting sherbet, which is not like ice cream, but it does have dairy component to it that makes it taste like sherbet. It's not a sorbet. It's, it's a blend, and a little sometimes gnarly, like a little buttermilk like tartness to it that gives it that sherbet like quality. And that to me is kind of the part that's missing a little bit. So it's just overall, this is a clean and very fruity kind of kitchen sink of fruit characters, with some of them winning over the others. The lime, the orange, I guess, but it's not screaming sherbet. It lacks any of the light kind of dairy like cultured tang of an actual sherbet product to me. And I kind of like that because I don't really care for sherbet all that much, but I'd rather have ice cream or maybe a sorbet, or just, go one way or the other. But, it is fairly acidic though. And the cider is actually really enjoyable. It's a very easy beverage to drink. It is maybe more fruit sorbet like, but like candy, candy sorbet, not like fresh fruit. I would say too that, my only real complaint maybe is that the apple quality gets a bit buried. And I would also suggest declaring the carbonation and sweetness levels if you're entering it. And if you wanted to make it a little more sherbet-like, maybe you could do something creative, add a little lactose or something, or give it kind of a creamy, sweet quality that's going to stay in there. But maybe be careful with that, because Brian was also saying the opposite of what I just said, pull back the sweetness. I think if you do that, there's a lot of acidity here too. So you'd have to pull the acidity back as well if you were going to do that. So I don't know where you want to drive it. And I'm interested to hear your ideas for it. I liked it for what it is, and just kind of forgiving the lack of declaring carbonation and sweetness. I was going to the middle high 30s, like a 37 on this, honestly, because it's just really enjoyable and fun to drink. And I like it, but it's just missing. It's not quite into excellent, because it's just like missing that. It's declared as sherbet, flavor. And to me, that's just a little missing, but I really enjoy it. And I don't, that's where I'll land on that. So,
okay.
And Cooper, I just want to chime in here for 2 seconds. I think you're talking about how it's more of a candy flavor, is like the penny dropped for me, as I was kind of thinking about fresh fruit, or like a rainbow sherbet, like you would eat like a dessert. And I wasn't thinking about the candy and that candy character. But you said that, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to think. I agree with what you said.
You could subtly rename it as like Skittles cider or something that's really fruity, sweet, and acidic. And it's great. It tastes good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, Bob, let's go through your recipe. How'd you make this?
Sure. Yeah. I did 4.5 gallons of apple cider. I let that ferment with SO4. And then after a few weeks, I added in 3 pounds of raspberries and then 12 ounces of lime juice. I didn't use, so like a rainbow sherbet traditionally would be like the raspberry, the lime, and then orange. I have tried to ferment oranges before, and it comes out horribly. So
yeah, fair.
Yeah, I believe that.
So I just used orange flavoring. I used like an extract flavor for the orange.
Okay.
So yeah, I was shooting for raspberry, I was shooting for lime, and I was shooting for orange. And I think, I don't really know where I was even going when I went with this, but I'm thinking like the orange sherbet kind of dessert, that sort of ice creamy, sweet, and those 3 fruits sort of kind of popping out when you're drinking this. I did back sweeten it with stevia.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea. I think it's natural. It's probably not going to get fermented by anything, and it tastes sweet without tasting artificial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Orange extract. I mean, yeah, I can taste it, I think. Or, since you said it, there's sort of like a darker, flavor there. I wonder if you used like a bitter orange peel. Like for a wit beer, but but add those in there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe too, where some of the candy lake impression is coming through. It's an artificial flavor kind of, or an extract at least.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the most natural tasting.
I do like the concept. I think it's fun, and I think it's pretty unique. I've seen a lot of ciders lately on the shelves, which is great. I love it. Cider rules. But I've never seen a take on it like this. And I think Cooper's probably right. There is sort of like a mouthfeel creaminess that is missing if you want it to be like a sherbet.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's almost like a tiki drink.
Yeah.
Because there's like some darker flavors. Maybe it's oxidation. I don't know. But like there's some almost sherry-like, but maybe that's the orange flavoring. But there's a few tiki drinks that are like, dark rum, maybe little bitters, and then like it's a punch. So you get a little fruit in there, like a Pim's punch. There's like some Pim's, flavoring in there that is sort of reminiscent for me. But yeah, it's almost like a tiki drink inspired cider. I do like it. It's very fun. It's very easy to drink for sure. I would personally like to see a little bit of carbonation in it too, but I was just about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder what it would be like with a little carbonation in it, because I think that would make it pop, and it might be a lot to take at that point, but it's fun and just candy like, and that would be like kind of soda pop like at that point. So
I think it's cool, man. I think if you figure out sort the orange part out, because I think the raspberry you don't get a whole lot, but I think it offsets the lime. So I wouldn't say remove it, and maybe you get a little bit of raspberry there in behind the lime. But if you figure out the orange part, I think you could have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe work on making some tinctures with sweet orange peel. I don't know if bitter orange peel is going to do you a lot of favors here, because it's going to take away from that candy-like impression, which I would like to keep. But do a tincture, soak some fresh orange peel zest in some vodka and let it sit for 8 hours or something, and then blend it into one of your ciders and see if it gives you that orange that you want, or find out how much you have to go with.
I mean, you can do this again and then split the batches into 1 gallon carboys, and then just add different kinds of different orange sources or whatever. Try to get away from the artificial stuff, and I think it would really give that fruit a nice boost underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you made this exact thing and carbonated it and put it in a can that was really zanily marketed, it would probably sell. Like
hell yeah,
like just one of those crazy cans that you see in the thing. It's like, is that just really good marketing? Because that can looks so cool. And then if you bought it and it tasted like this, you'd be like, okay, yeah, it is it is a crazy cider.
Absolutely. Although, of course, I'm going to say it's 6.8. I would love to see this at 5.5 or 6. That's me personally. I'm always going to say that. I'm never going to not say it. Obviously, you do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it.
Yeah, the alcohol isn't hurting it here.
No, it's not hurting it at all. It just a lot of when I say the alcohol's too high or whatever, 80% of it's just mental. For me,
right?
It's just like, oh, this tastes good, and you see the ABV, and you're like, oh shit, it's 6.8. Okay, so that means I don't know. I'm just like going through these weird mental gymnastics to try to figure out how much I can have instead of actually enjoying my life. That's my problem.
Yeah. So just drink a half and share it with somebody else, or and
then not worry about it. But then that wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, Bob, do you have any questions for these guys?
Yeah, I guess the question is like, so I did make this kind of just for fun. I don't even know what I would do with this if I were to enter it into something, because it's so weird. I think the feedback that I got was pretty good in terms of sort of things to tweak, but would you recommend, I guess in terms of when I'm declaring things, how do you think this would do best if I were to put this into a competition?
I judged it as a C2F specialty cider. It's just it's so unique that there's nothing else like this, and that's the category for things along those lines. If you're going to enter it as a cider, you should have some apple flavor, so you might want to find a way to bring that up a little bit to balance with the fruit flavors, and
maybe take the lime down a little bit.
The lime is pretty big in the forefront. I'm getting lime first, then I guess then probably that odd orangey quality and the raspberry underneath. But I got all of it. I did get all of it. It's all there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
It's
agree
pretty good.
that I might back off on the lime some.
Mm-hmm.
I love lime though. So yeah, it is like
I do
JP
too,
said,
but
it's kind of like a tiki drink.
Out the most. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? It's, you can make things for yourself that necessarily won't fit into competition, and then vice versa.
Or just call it margarita mead and be done with it.
Margarita mead.
I mean margarita cider.
Wow. You want to give this man a 13.
Add some honey.
Yeah. Get it as a mead, man.
Make it a piment.
Yeah.
Make it a Sicer. Make it a I don't know. You can go
could,
a lot of different.
if you really want to stretch the dollar there. All right. Anything else? Or
I
is
think
Bob?
that's it.
Actually, the thing that I would hop in just for a second,
Mm-hmm.
talking about entering competitions, I think you've got to be careful about when you're naming something about how you're. I like your idea of calling it a Rainbow Sherbet Cider because you're trying to evoke, the different stuff that's in Rainbow Sherbet, but it can set up expectations in the judges, like Cooper in particular was talking about with dairy and mouthfeel and whatever. It can set up expectations that are difficult to meet. And I think that if we had received this and had been like, oh, this is cider with lime and raspberry, it would have adjusted our expectations differently. So I think you just got to be careful when you're naming things. Whimsy and marketing are fantastic, and I love the whimsy of Rainbow Sherbet Cider a lot. But I mean, you can call it that, but then you also need to declare this is what's in it. It's lime juice and raspberries and so forth. So just keep that in mind when you're entering competitions. That's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you did enter it, you'd probably want to say under special ingredients what was in there, because there's a whole 2 lines on the score sheet that we can write that in, like, oh, they declared lime, they declared this, they declared that, and make sure that those things do come through, at least to you and your friends that taste it, and us, So yeah, but really, really fun cider. I had fun tasting it. I like the bottle. I like the energy of just let's try this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's part of the fun of homebrewing and making your own ciders and surviving pandemics and all that stuff.
There you go. So far. All right, Bob, if that's it, we'll let you go.
That's it. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you, Bob.
See you guys.
We're going to take a fast
Take
break.
care.
We're going to come right back and wrap things up here on Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned. All right, thanks for sticking around, everybody. We're just here to wrap things up real fast. Thanks to Bob and to Colin for sending in their beers, the Rainbow Sherbet Cider.
What a creation.
Belgian Blonde Ale. Yeah, man, it was weird. And it's funny, we talked about that dark sherry kind of flavor, or at least I did. And I couldn't place it, and I sort of just ignored it until he said, oh, yeah, and then I used orange, flavoring or whatever. And I was like, and it's really weird. And it sort of highlights why we don't like to talk about flavors that we're tasting while we judge them, at a judging table.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can just convince yourself that you're tasting a certain thing, and maybe you're not, maybe you are, I don't know. But I think it also inhibits you from finding your own vocabulary too.
I do really agree with what he said, though. Bob's just fermenting oranges, all bad. Don't even really try it, because it's just not meant to happen.
They're mostly water, and there's nothing good that's going to come of it.
Yeah. Have you ever had a fermented orange beverage? I don't know that I've ever had one, but it's
yeah, I've never had one. I wouldn't know.
I
would have no idea.
There's a reason.
But there's ways around artificial things too. So anyone listening to this.
Now, what if somebody wanted to send in an artificial orange beverage or a fermented orange beverage into our show? What would they do?
They would email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com. And Brian Cooper will get you on the schedule. We'll get you on the waiting list. We're going to need 2 forms of identification and your social. and then maybe we'll let you in the secret society, the Dr. Homebrew secret society that basically lets anybody in. We're an open border policy here.
And please
we also need your social security number, your bank account PIN, for your debit card, just a few little things like that too. Not a problem.
It's standard stuff. Don't let it fool you.
And do not spam us with like patent support from India emails, that kind of thing. Please
we have
don't.
enough of that from Shar. It's fine.
I get like 5 of those. I get multiples of those a day. And clearly somebody thought that, oh, this brewing network, I'll make up. It's got to be Brian at the brewingnetwork.com. So now poor Cooper is getting the same horrible. The Indian spam is relentless. And I suspect that you will start getting a lot of it now. And I'm very sorry.
I got 2 of them in the last week. I'm actually going to write back to them and demand that they send me homebrew. They need to start homebrewing. We're not about whatever you're doing, buddy.
I've been having this weird problem with my podcast, with my Ears Up email, where I'm getting emails from myself. Spam emails, 10, 15 a day. I don't know how to stop it. I changed my password. I don't know how to stop it.
Yeah, they've spoofed the from.
Yeah.
And of course, you're always going to be a safe sender.
Right. So, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Weird.
Put yourself in spam.
Stop spamming yourself, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's hard when you're in the studio all day. What are you going to do? All right, we're going to get out of here, everybody. But thank you very much for listening to the show. Again, if you want to send in homebrews or anything fermented, whatever you want to do, email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com, and we will get you onboarded with the whole process. Thank you, of course, to also 5 Star Chemicals. You go to 5starchemicals.com, learn about all the great products they have over there, and then sign up for their homebrew club information as well. You won't regret it, I promise.
I went and said hi to them at HomebrewCon and chatted with them. Had a few reps there, and our club joined their homebrew club program, which is awesome too. And they have a lot of support there for clubs. So we love what they're doing. And it was great to see them in person again, live and in person with germs floating everywhere, JP.
Yeah, I know. That's sounds great. That sounds really cool, man. I love hearing about it. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you later.